Fort Greene Park is the oldest park in Brooklyn. It's right downtown, but a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to it. They just know it from this giant column. But what they don't realize is at the very bottom of that column, buried underneath it, are the remains of 11,500 people. It's a mass grave in the middle of New York City, and no one knows it. Americans don't think of America as being a place where a concentration camp could ever exist, but they're victims of a concentration camp, one of the first ones in our country. The American Revolution, which we were trying to get our independence from the British, happened roughly between 1776 and 1783. And for a lot of that period, the British controlled New York City. So whenever they would get a prisoner, they would bring them to New York City to keep them in the prisons. So they used what their favorite method was back then, old ships, things with masts and fittings removed, and they would put these old leaky, worthless vessels in the middle of a very hard to navigate body of water and put the prisoners on there so they couldn't escape. These were the worst possible conditions you can imagine. The pestilence was off the charts. There was barely any air, barely any water. Rainwater is the only safe thing you could have drunk on those things. The food was foul. Smallpox was rife. About 11,500 people died. Now, keep in mind that only 4,400 people died in battle in the Revolutionary War. We think of it being as a very bloody war, but they were the lucky ones. More people died on these prison ships than died in battle by far. When someone died, they would be rowed out from the ship by other prisoners who were barely alive themselves, buried under very shallow sand on the side of the water, and then these prisoners would row back on. So the Revolutionary War ends, and now we're in the late 1700s, and New York City has become a huge port. The problem is they didn't move the bodies, and every now and then a body part would float up and start bobbing across the water. That's when the drive really happened to clean them up and give them at least some sort of semblance of a proper burial after all these years. Finally, in the 1870s, they built a grand staircase about 100 feet wide, and they put a crypt in the middle of it, in the middle of Fort Greene Park. Inside this crypt, there are 21 coffins. They're made of slate. 20 of them hold the remains of 8,000 people. Now think about that for a second. 8,000 people in only 20 coffins. The 21st coffin holds one person. And this is the guy who, for like 50 years in the middle of the 1800s, decided that he was going to make sure that these prison ship martyrs got a proper burial. And when he died, he wanted to be buried with the martyrs, and he got his wish. So in 1908, they build this incredible column so that no one will ever forget the martyrs again. And guess what? Who remembers the martyrs? It's just a pretty column now. Even today, you ask an average New Yorker, tell me, where are 12,000 people buried? They won't know. So if you're ever in New York City, come to Fort Greene Park. It's a beautiful park anyway, but more importantly, it'll give you a chance to be one of the only people who manages to remember the martyrs. After all, what they did helped establish this country.